Today on Community Cooking, we have guest chef Abby Gremion making a healthy twist on your classic lasagna. We'll show you how to cut the carbs without cutting the flavor. We're cooking with some of the best chefs from right here in our own community, so grab a seat and relax. We have another great meal for you. This is your Community Cooking. Hi, and welcome to Community Cooking. I'm your host, Maria Prekeges, and I am excited to have back in the studio one of our own here at CitiCABLE. What an introduction, Miss Abby Gremion.
Hi, how are you?
I like it. It's like, here we go. So, carbohydrates we love, but we like to cut. So, I love your recipe, lasagna without the noodles. Tell me about it.
You know, this is a recipe that my mom came up with when I was a kid, and I have all these fond memories of, growing up in Louisiana with those hot summers, and my mom would make this lasagna recipe because it kind of had all of the feel good of lasagna, but yet it was still cool. And, it kept you cool in those really hot summer days. So I'm excited to share this recipe with you.
Well, so much I think, too, of cooking and enjoying the food. A lot of it is the memories and then passing those recipes down generation to generation, which I love.
Me too.
All right, ingredients. Simple. Love that. Thank you. What are they?
Thank you. So we're going to start off with some zucchini that you can get at our Torrance Farmers Market, some organic ground beef, and your choice of cheeses. We have feta, let's see, mozzarella, and I want to say some Parmesan. So, and then we also are featuring the sauce that we made on the last show that you and I did together, and you can find that recipe on our website.
Which I love because that was easy, and it's not a canned sauce. We made it from scratch. And you were saying before, too, you can even freeze this sauce. So you
totally
can use it, make a big batch, and we're using it for a second recipe.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about that recipe and what I love about this sauce is because it makes so much. You can make 3 or 4 dishes with it, and then, you still have leftover. It's great.
And then a little bit later, we're going to make some fresh bread because I don't like to cut out all the carbs, but I always say I don't like 2 carbs in one meal. So this is perfect. So tell me about, I was wondering, I go, how's she going to do the zucchini into noodles?
So when we think about lasagna, we think about those long pieces of pasta. Well, since we're cutting out, this carb and we're going to have some bread instead, what I do is I take our beautiful zucchini and I cut off the ends, and then I always use my steel gloves.
You're very smart because I haven't before and I've paid for it.
Well, yes, and I have too, so I quickly learned the error of my ways.
And they look good with your outfit, let me tell you.
They sure do. So, and this is my mandolin. It's from Rubbermaid. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it, and I love to use it. So, using my steel gloves, I hold on to the zucchini, and I just slice it. Easy peasy. You can have the kids help you with this. You can have your teenagers help you with this. And it's guilt-free. And it really doesn't take that long to slice this up. Sometimes it gets a little caught, and then you got to pull it out. But look at that.
But easy. See, those are gorgeous.
And the thing is that with this mandolin, you can adjust how thick or thin you want the cut to be. But I like it a little bit thicker.
I like that too. Gives it a little more crunch, a little more substance to it, I think.
Me too. So I'm going to go ahead and finish slicing this one up. And then from there, we go ahead and there we go.
Hence why I wear the gloves.
This is why we wear the gloves. So then from there, I go ahead and once I've sliced up all of my zucchini, I go ahead and line the bottom of a glass baking pan.
Why is there glass when it comes to lasagna? I guess you could use either, but I like glass because it's pretty too.
It is pretty. I like it because of the aesthetic, but I also like it because, it just cooks well.
Yeah.
So you go ahead and you line the bottom of your glass pan with the zucchini.
So I have been into the zoodle. I've been into trying. That's why I was so excited when I heard you were coming on. Shredding them, doing anything you can with zucchini, or even now, could you use yellow squash? I kind of prefer the green, but
absolutely, you can use pretty much any type of squash like this that you would want. But I prefer to use the green zucchini just because I feel like the yellow zucchini, when it gets bigger, it's a little bitter. So I
Gotcha.
prefer the green because it just tastes a little bit sweeter. So from there, we go ahead and we take, we're going to go ahead and brown up our meat.
Okay.
And, you know, with this recipe, I chose not to season it, but I'm going to tell you why. With this recipe, there's so much going on with the sauce and with the cheese, you really don't need it. So we're going to go ahead and brown up our ground beef.
And you like it lean, so do I.
I do. You know, it's like, you know, if we're going to splurge on carbs, you know, let's just keep everything else as lean and as clean as possible.
Now, I know a lot of people, sometimes, I love ground beef, but they sometimes do turkey meat. Could you substitute turkey?
Absolutely. You could do turkey. You can
Ground
even do
turkey.
ground chicken.
Oh, wow.
I love ground chicken as just kind of a twist. You know, if I get tired of having the ground beef, the ground chicken is just a really nice alternative. You can usually get it at Sprouts or, you know, any type of supermarket where they have a butcher block. So, yeah, the ground chicken's great. I even love to do it in burgers.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Yum. I mean, I do like my ground beef, though. And thank you for the feta, because I'm Greek and we love our feta cheese. We have it everywhere.
If I'm going to be on a show with a host who's Greek, I'm going to have to
She
have...
brings the feta. We like it.
Absolutely. So we're going to brown up this meat, and then once we're done browning up the meat, we're going to go ahead and layer that meat in with some of the cheese. We can go ahead and start doing that now. And honestly, with the cheese, you can put as little or as much as you want. But for me, let's not skimp.
No, I love my cheese.
If we're
And
gonna
I like
have
the
cheese-
combination of 3 of them.
And then look at this. It's so pretty. I love like all the different shades of the green and the white all together.
And let's talk a little bit. We talked that you made the sauce before. Tell me more again about the ingredients that goes into it.
So this is an all organic sauce. So I used Roma tomatoes and olive oil, garlic, some of our fresh herbs like basil, rosemary, thyme, and and onion. We used onion and a bell pepper.
That's right.
So if you like your sauce a little bit sweeter for that recipe, I recommend that you throw in some carrots and some honey, but I prefer to have my sauces a little bit more savory. So, you know, we get to use this super yummy sauce that everything in it is super healthy and organic and fresh. So
No sugar unless you add a teeny bit of honey, but that's not even a big deal compared to, you know, store-bought sauces.
Exactly. So yeah, once we have the meat browned up, we can go ahead and add that in there. And then what I like to do is I like to go ahead and take this sauce and just pour some of it in there. And what's great about this Pyrex is that it makes it really easy to pour. And so then you'll grab a spoon and just spread it out. And you're just going to layer. You're just going to layer this layer by layer until you get it as thick or as thin as you want it.
Yeah.
So
And you don't, how many layers do you do? Because the zucchini is a little thicker than your normal noodles.
I usually do about 3 layers.
Okay.
But also, like if I make a big pan of this, I usually use 2 pounds of ground beef. So because I like leftovers. Who doesn't want to cook every
I
day?
only cook for leftovers. I have a friend who will remain nameless, and they're not even seconds. Usually I'm like, wait, where are the leftovers? I want to take some home. When I cook, there's always leftovers.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I love to have leftovers, so I always make 2 pounds. And this will usually get me through about 3 or 4 evenings of dinner. And by that time, you want to make something else. You want to have something different.
That's true. I do like leftovers, but by the 3rd or 4th night, I'm like, okay, we're done.
Exactly.
So how did you get into cooking?
I got into cooking after I moved out. I had this amazing Cajun mom who
I can
was
only imagine.
always cooking all the time. We always had fresh dinner. But then every time I would go in the kitchen to like try to learn, she'd be like, "Get out of here!" So when I moved out, it was very much trial and error. And I just remember, I mean, like living by myself in Dallas, tasting or trying things and tasting things and like, yeah, that doesn't taste good, and throw it out.
Well, and you can do that even, if you're living with roommates or a significant other. I still do trial and error, and sometimes we call it, is it a, do it again or not? Cook it again or not? And sometimes it's, toss it.
Exactly. But, I've learned so much about cooking from YouTube and from like some of these shows like Top Chef. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love Top Chef because I always learn a different technique from it.
Well, and things you would never think would be put together. It's like, oh, that's really good.
Yes, like I really want to try. There was a recipe that was featured with steak, chocolate, and coffee, and I was like, ooh, that's a really
crazy?
interesting combination.
Where I pride myself on using sometimes 5 ingredients. 5 ingredients, I can go all week with, or 5, I should say, spices, not ingredients. There's white wine, olive oil, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Those are my 5, and chicken broth on occasion.
You know, you really can't go wrong with those.
But it makes it easy, but you have to experiment, you know, just to expand your horizons, and it's fun. Like you said, you wanted to start cooking.
Absolutely. Well, you know, living by yourself, at some point you're going to have to learn how to eat, so.
Unless you go to the salad bar every day or certain stores that offer.
Yeah, that would get boring fast.
It does. It does.
So yeah, I'm going to start browning this up, and it just I love this lean cut because it does cook so quick.
Yes.
Like, look at that. It's already starting to brown.
And you don't have to add oil, the little bit of fat that's left, the 3%.
Yeah, just the little bit of fat that's left is really all you need for the pan. So, and then, you know, think about it. Once that fat has been burned off, pretty much fat-free.
Oh, yeah.
You can't get much better than that.
So your mom did zucchini and lasagna.
Yes.
And yes, still very young, but that's amazing because growing up even with the Mediterranean background where we had a ton of vegetables all the time, that was never a thought. It was you have to use the pasta.
Oh,
so
really?
Your mom was ahead of the game,
well,
for sure.
My mom was always looking for, you know, a way to make a recipe lighter or healthier. You know, as Southern women,
who have their waists cinched up and in their
absolutely,
dresses.
we're always looking after the waistline. So we're always trying to figure out some way to cook that still tastes good and still has that feel-good feeling when we eat it, but isn't as doesn't have as much of a penalty on our waistlines.
And it's not as heavy either. I mean, I love pasta, but sometimes afterwards I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh,
so.
I'm totally with you. I feel like pasta for me is like, you know, 4 times a year. That's it.
Well, and I'd rather do bread instead of pasta, just personally, so.
Oh, me too. Well, and I love that you mentioned that because we're going to be featuring my favorite bread recipe coming up. It really is. At one point in my life, I literally made this bread recipe once a week.
See, and few things do scare me in the kitchen. Everyone here knows that. But to make my own bread, I'm like, no. But then I looked at the ingredients, and there aren't a lot.
It's super simple. Like, you can't mess this bread recipe up. You can't make it up.
Yeah.
You can't mess it up. And it'll make anybody look like a rock star. That's what I love about this recipe.
And fresh bread out of the oven, I mean, who doesn't love that?
You can't beat the smell. It's better than movie popcorn.
That's a tough one, but I will be the judge of that in a little bit when I finally get a taste.
Awesome.
And I have to know. Being a Greek girl, I have to sample the feta.
Oh, well, absolutely. Well, and the bread recipe that we're going to be doing today was also featured when I made the garlic bread. So this is how you can make that amazing bread that goes as the base with that garlic mash. That, like, I'm still dreaming of that.
Oh, it's
so
all
good.
your recipes are always so great, and I love that you can, you know, took a couple hours to get the sauce all ready, and then of course you blended it so it's all smooth, which I love. But then you can use it, freeze it, use it later, use it the next 3 days.
Oh, that's
reusing things and making, you know, for a week or up to a few months if you freeze it.
That's
really
what I
works.
love too. I mean, I'm probably going to end up, you know, taking the stock from all of this sauce that I've made for the show and end up giving it to my neighbors. It's like, what better than that?
Your neighbors love you.
They will.
Here, have some food. Well, and it's like I said, it's always great to experiment and try new things. You know, if you don't like ground beef, use ground turkey or ground chicken. But try things, and I know, especially some friends of mine, my brother loves his pasta, my boyfriend loves his pasta, but it's like, you know what? Try something different, because I now don't miss it using zucchini for so many things.
Yeah, I really, and plus just with so many organic vegetables that we have, you know, such easy access to here in Southern California, there's really no reason why we should be reaching for the pasta or the grain when we just have so much here at our fingertips. You know, just this climate. I still can't get over the climate here. I love it. I love
I
it.
go back to visit some friends back where I used to live, and you know, it's so expensive, and I don't know where they come from. I'm like, no, get me back to the Torrance Farmers Market.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm with you. I love my Saturdays at the Torrance Farmers Market.
Oh yeah, it's the
Highlight
best.
of my week.
So is that done enough that we can start layering?
You know what? We've got like one piece of meat that still isn't quite cooked, so I'm gonna maybe just another minute longer, and then we can start layering that in. But you know what? The stuff that's already cooked,
and then we'll
I'm
cook
gonna
it
start
again in
putting
the oven.
Absolutely.
But you do want to get it brown for sure.
Yeah, I mean you don't want to get anybody sick. So, and look at that. See, there was really no reason to add any oil because look at that. The fat has already drained. So, perfect.
Oh,
I'm going to go ahead.
Smells good.
It does smell good. Simple is always best.
Simple is, and I love straight out of the pan.
Straight out of the pan.
Into the other pan.
Into the other pan, and then just move it around a little bit, spread it out. And then we're going to go ahead and do another layer. Grab some more zucchini.
Yeah, we did vegetables with lemon juice growing up.
Ooh.
When we started getting into, you know, oven roasted vegetables, I was like, what is this? I mean, lemon's great with veggies, but that was our staple.
But
So
that
it's
does sound really
It
yummy.
is good. Asparagus with a little lemon and Parmesan.
Oh, that's awesome.
Look at that. It's so pretty. I actually like the green because it's so pretty.
Me too. I've always liked just the way how this looks visually. It's
Yeah.
just so pretty. And then we're gonna add some more cheese, all of the cheese.
Now, do you ever make this the night before and put it in the fridge, or is it best because it is zucchini and not pasta to cook it right away?
Oh no, I've done it where I've made it the night before and then
Okay.
I have it for lunch, and I'm actually gonna turn this burner off. No, this is a recipe that you can eat off of it for a couple days. And the thing is that like if you pull it out of the fridge and it has a little bit of water, it's because all of the zucchini has so much water in it.
Yeah.
You just pour it off. It's fine. It still tastes amazing. Still super healthy for you.
I could just eat all 3 of those ramekins of cheese.
Me too. But then we wouldn't have any.
I know,
for
we wouldn't have any for this
lasagna.
fabulous dish.
It'd be very sad lasagnas.
It would be. And I know that all the cheese, especially Parmesan, if that's have a lot of salt. So I like that you didn't season the ground beef.
Exactly. When you're using other ingredients that have so much salt, there's
Sauce,
just,
my friend?
yes, some sauce, and let's just pour that in. Look at how pretty that is.
Oh, all right. While we finish layering, we're going to take a quick break. We actually have one in the oven already baking. It looks and smells delicious. And when we get back, fresh baked, easy bread. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Community Cooking.
As a band, we try to make music that will fill the world with happiness. It's a magical thing getting to do what you love and seeing the way it affects the feelings of others. But there are still some people that want to fill the world with pain.
Online bullying can be stopped, however. We can all work together to fix it. This emoji is in the symbol section of your phone's emoji keyboard.
Use it when you see bullying online to say, I see what you're doing and it's not cool. Let's fill the world with music and love and beauty instead of anger and hate.
Join us and become a witness.
When you see bullying online, use this emoji to do something.
Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org.
Welcome back to Community Cooking. I'm your host, Maria Prekeges. And if you're just joining us, my good friend Abby Gremion just made I call it a fake lasagna.
Yes.
Faux lasagna, if we're really, being hoity-toity.
It's stealthy, healthy lasagna. I
It
love
is, because we use zucchini instead of noodles, which I can't wait. That's baking in the oven. Now we're going to the one carb we're going to treat ourselves. Homemade bread?
Yes.
Say it isn't so, because I'm afraid to make bread.
No, bread is not anything you should be afraid of making. I love to bake and I love making breads. And this is honestly the simplest and easiest bread recipe you'll ever make.
Well, I know that there's flour in the bowl, but this is all for ingredients?
Yes, so we're gonna go ahead and start. We have 3.5 cups of flour that's already in our bowl, and I've attached our dough hook already in the mixer. You add 3.5 cups of warm water, and I'm gonna actually leave a little bit of the water, and you're gonna see why. So we're gonna pour the majority of the water in there. Throw a tablespoon of active dry yeast.
Active dry,
Dry-
I can't say it.
Active dry yeast.
Did it go for a run before?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to check.
It's active.
And some salt. So we're gonna go ahead and throw that all in there.
And it looks like you have the pink salt, which I love.
I love the pink Himalayan sea salt. So we're gonna go ahead and get this mixer going.
And you need the dough hook.
Yes, you need the dough hook. And the thing is that with this recipe, the dough is gonna start to look shaggy. That's completely normal.
Okay.
So when you see like that the dough is starting to come together, but yet there's still flour on the sides, that's when we go ahead and use the extra water.
Okay.
Or if it gets a little too runny, we throw a little bit extra flour in
you
there.
have a little extra flour too.
To get it going. So once this starts going well, I'm going to go ahead and add 3 tablespoons of butter.
I was like, that is more than 3 tablespoons.
Yes, this is definitely more than 3 tablespoons. But this is about 3 tablespoons. So, and what I like to do is I cut it up into smaller pieces and I throw it into the batter.
So you don't get one big clump.
Right, because then if you get one big clump, it doesn't mix well.
Okay.
And then I even throw it in different spots just to make sure that everything gets mixed well.
I did that once I made scones. I know, shocking. But you have to put like little chunks of butter everywhere so it melts properly and mixes properly.
If you're going to make one carb, make it right.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
all right, so throw your butter in there, and then I'm going to actually leave this to the side. I'm going to grab a little bit, and we're going to see why in just a minute. So if you start
the
to look,
suspense.
the batter is getting kind of shaggy. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab the rest of this water and slowly start to pour it in.
So you said warm. Can room temperature warm or a little warmer than that?
I usually get a little bit warmer than room temperature. And so the dough is finally starting to come together. My hook is doing a fantastic job. I'm actually going to turn it a little bit higher.
Woo-hoo.
And now I see that there's a little bit more flour down at the bottom, so I'm going to pour some more water in to get that all together.
Someone has to get it together, not me.
I'm going to grab just a smidge more water.
Look at that go. I love the dough.
I really, baking gives me so much joy. I love it. And add just a tiny bit more flour.
My mom used to let me bake, but she said I had to clean up, so I stopped right then and there.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. All right, so maybe give this another 30 seconds, and we're going to be ready to go to our next step. So, well, what we do after this is, all right, so I'm going to stop it now.
That's it for the manual labor, I should say, sort of.
For the most part. So I'm going to go ahead and unhook this so that everybody can see. So it's a nice kind of shaggy dough. I'm going to throw a little bit more flour in there just so that it's not quite so wet. Mix it up. Everything looks nice. It's not too sticky.
Yeah, you don't want it super, super sticky.
And then I take this little pat of butter and I go ahead and I rub it on the outside of the dough. Because this is what makes it brown up. This is
so you don't melt it and brush it on top.
No, you rub it on the dough before it even cooks.
And before you let it rise, I'm assuming,
yes.
Even though it was the fast rising yeast.
It is the fast rising yeast. And the thing with rising yeast is that you can either do a hot rise or a cold rise. So if you want to do this for like first thing in the morning, I would mix it up at night, and then I would do a cold rise in the refrigerator. So you literally just take your bowl with, a tea towel, cover it, and then when you wake up in the morning, it's going to be ready to go.
What exactly is a tea towel?
A tea towel is just, I don't know, whatever towel that you
Not
use.
the thick one in the kitchen. I know exactly. My grandmother used to crochet around them, and that's what she used to use.
But you know what? Like I've used those too, and it's been fine. It's just the dough doesn't like to be.
Let me see.
So
I'm moving you over so I can look.
Look at that. So.
Oh, I love it.
It's a really nice, pretty dough. So you go ahead and you keep this covered. You either let it warm rise for about an hour, or you cold rise it in the fridge overnight.
And the warm rise, you don't get it warm. It's just that is room temperature. That is called a warm rise.
Exactly.
Okay.
So.
And it can be right in the bowl.
It can be right in the bowl. You don't even have to clean anything up. But we already have one that has risen, And look how pretty that is.
That is. Ooh, and it's definitely textures. Yeah, it's not sticky.
It's super great. So then what we do is we grab a little bit of our flour, we dust it, and then we're gonna knead it just a little bit, because the trick to making the dough spring back up is you have to punch that initial gas out of it.
Okay. That's
So-
why, you know, I was like, I know you always need, but
Yeah, but that's the reason why. If you just let it sit there, it won't
Okay.
rise. Like when you bake it, it won't rise correctly.
okay.
So
I mean, I know I need some bread in a little bit, so good
Well,
thing we're making it.
we all need some bread.
Oh, especially fresh bread. You said in the morning. I can't imagine waking up to the smell of fresh bread.
I think that's the best smell ever.
Notice how I didn't say after I make it. I said waking up to it.
So we're just gonna knead it. And it doesn't have to be a really scientific knead, but I just always fold over and just knead. We don't have to beat the snot out of it. We just knead it. So we go ahead and then we take a greased cooking sheet
Okay.
and we put our dough onto the cooking sheet, throw it in the oven at 350 degrees for 35 minutes.
Well, and luckily you guys can't smell, but we have one in the oven already, and I'm gonna grab it. And the lasagna's cooking in the other oven, and when we get back, we get to taste it all. I mean, fresh, hot bread.
Who doesn't love that?
That's why I love having you here, my friend. Don't go anywhere. When we get back, my favorite part is always the tasting. You're watching Community Cooking.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Welcome back to Community Cooking. I'm with my friend and guest chef, Abby. Miss Abby, it's time to taste.
It is. This is the best part.
Okay, so the fake lasagna, but not so fake, with the ground beef, 3 cheeses. Yeah, I have to get a piece of the zucchini.
Yeah, we gotta.
I have to get a bite of everything. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Okay, all the flavors come together. I think the 3 cheese is the way to go. And the zucchini, I hate to say it, I don't miss the pasta. I like the crunchiness of it.
Me too. Me too.
All right, and bread fresh out of the oven. I'm taking, oh,
Uh-oh.
I'm taking a big piece to taste it. It smells so good. I'm not even putting butter on it first.
Okay.
Okay, the 2 together, and that is some of the best bread I've had, and I'm not kidding.
Yeah, this is my favorite bread recipe. Everybody should try it.
And it's so easy, and it goes together perfectly.
It really does.
Give me a glass of red wine, we'd be set for the night.
Ching ching.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. Your recipes were amazing, as usual.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Oh, I love it, love it, love it. On behalf of myself and Abby and the entire crew, thanks for joining us on another fun episode. And remember, we really do have some of the best chefs right here in our own community. We'll see you next time on Community Cooking.
If you'd like a copy of the recipes seen on this show, send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to the Office of Cable and Community Relations. That's 3350 Civic Center Drive, Suite 200, in Torrance, California, 90503. Be sure to note the show number displayed on the screen. And don't forget you can find all the fresh ingredients used on today's show at the Farmers Market. Visit the one here in Torrance at Wilson Park. That's located at 2200 Crenshaw Boulevard. They're open every Tuesday and Saturday from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m., rain or shine. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show, email us at communitycooking@torranceca.gov and check us out online at youtube.com/TorranceCityCable and like us on Facebook at Community Cooking TV.